Hi everyone and welcome to a new video. In this video we're going to take a look at Axie Infinity. I think most of you have already heard about this project and it's getting a lot of attention these days. The question of course is, can we still make money? And that is exactly what we're going to take a look at in this video. Personally, I found out about this project at the end of last year, so I got a really good entry. I didn't buy in too much because I wanted to play the game itself. Sadly, the gas fees were too high. You had to pay more in gas fees than the Axies were worth. Now, of course, the whole situation has changed, so I'm a little bit regretful that I didn't invest more, but hey, that's the way it goes. Now, because I'm still a newbie myself when it comes to Axie Infinity, how to play the game, how to do the breeding process and so forth, I invited Leon from Card Minnows, so be sure to check out his channel. And even if you are really acquainted with the game already, he made a really good video on how to earn 100 SLP in 15 minutes. And at current prices, that means you can earn $30 per day by playing this game. So you can imagine what all the hype is about. Now, before we dive into the conversation, I want to go over the costs that I made. So first of all, I bought the SLP token at about 20 cents. So I bought 3,000, which should be enough to do the breeding that we're going to do in the video. So that's a cost of about $600. Sadly, the gas fees are pretty high. So I've been paying these gas fees on Uniswap. I also bought 40 Axies tokens. These are also needed for the breeding process. And then I bridged 1 Ethereum to the Ronin network because this is needed to buy the Axies themselves. When it comes to bridging the tokens, I spent another 111 in gas fees, so in total I spent 200 in gas fees just to get this thing started. And of course, I hear some of you thinking, Ronin, what the hell is Ronin? Well, basically, because the gas fees were so high on the Ethereum net and the game was unplayable, they decided to create a sidechain of the Ethereum net, and this is called Ronin. So the Ronin network is a copy of the Ethereum network, but being handled by Sky Mavis, which is the company behind Axie Infinity. So basically, you buy the tokens that you need, and then you use the Ronin bridge to convert them to the Ronin network. A new network also means a different wallet, so in this case you have to download the Ronin wallet. It is a browser plugin and you will need it to interact with the game as well. So before you get started, don't forget you need to bridge your tokens and you need to get a Ronin wallet. The last thing I did in preparation of this video was download the Freaks Axie extension. This is not an official extension, this is made by somebody in the community, so please double check or use a different browser if you're uncertain about the safety of this plugin. But yeah, this is a really handy plugin if you want to get into the breeding because it gives you a lot of extra stats. So with me right now is Leon from Card Minnows. Leon, can you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you and how did you get into Axie Infinity?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me on your channel, Brian. So my name is Leon. I'm an engineer based in Hawaii, and on my off time, I really like to get into collectibles and gaming. So I found Axie Infinity through a podcast on DeFi about 3 months ago now, and got into the game, researched it, and really got into it, and really liked the play to earn aspect of it, where you're spending your time in a game, but you're also getting rewarded through earning ETH or earning their tokens SLP or AXX through playing the game.
Okay, so the purpose of this video is to show everybody how you can get started. So I already did the preparations that you told me to do in the email, so I think we are all set up to go. I think the first place to start, of course, is the marketplace. And if I understand correctly, this is also part of the game that you can stick to. You're not into playing games. If you don't have the time, you can actually just stick to the marketplace and enjoy the benefits of Axie Infinity that way.
Yes, that's completely correct. So it seems like Axie Infinity is like 2 games. There's the breeding marketplace part of it, and then there's also the actual gameplay where you can battle other players or with the computers in the arena and adventure modes.
Okay, cool. So we're right now here in the marketplace. Let's take a look at the marketplace itself. I think this can be overwhelming for people. We see 126,000 Axies available for sale. That sounds insane. How do we get started? What is a good Axie? What to look out for? And how many do you have to buy? Actually start investing into Axie Infinity.
Right, yeah, it is overwhelming and it's definitely grown a lot in the past couple of months with everyone learning about play to earn and Axie Infinity. You need 3 Axies to start a team to actually start playing. And right now, what's popular is a plant double aqua team, and that's what I would recommend that we start with. So to kind of narrow down the field and choose the ones we want. Yeah, so we want to click plant, and then for the stats on the upper tab, you want to make that drag that health all the way to 61 because your plant is going to be your front line. So that's your tank going to be absorbing damage, and we want the most health for your plant.
Okay. And then everything else is whatever.
Yeah, everything else doesn't matter too much on your plant. You really just want the most hit points available to kind of absorb all that damage.
I assume if we don't want to play the game and we just want to play the breeding game, if I can call it that way, the breed count will be important as well.
Correct. Yeah. So if you're just looking for breeding, then you wouldn't really care about the stats too much. You would care about the class. And you want to breed what's popular so it sells. And you really want to care about the purity because what the genetics and how the breeding is set up in Axie Infinity, if your Axie isn't pure, then some of the recessive genes and the parts you don't want could come out, and that could decrease the value of the Axies you want to sell back into the marketplace. So, sorry to backtrack a little, because we're not going to be breeding the plants in this one, you don't need to pay the premium for breed count 0. You can actually go up to 7, but if you, yeah, just for this, because we're going to be breeding the double aquas that we're going to be buying in just a little bit. And then if you go to parts, I'm going to give you some of the meta parts right now, the most popular. So the first one is pumpkin, and you can just type in pumpkin in that search box and it'll pop up.
Okay.
And then the next one is serious. Then the final one is cactus. So these parts are pretty good because pumpkin gives you a bunch of shield, which will be good for tanking. Serious steals energy, and then cactus does damage back.
Okay, so right now I also loaded the plugin of Freaks. It is. It's a third-party plugin, and that will show you a whole bunch of stats. I assume red is bad, green is good. But what's the most important stat to keep?
So actually the red, the green, and the purple are all part of the different types of Axies. So there's 9 different types, sorry. And then so the purple would be reptile, green would be plant, red would be bug. And because you're doing a plant, you want green ones if you're breeding. But just because we're that doesn't matter as much if we're just buying one to play with. So just based on my knowledge of the game, I would say that the one that's kind of 5 over on the first row, the one that's 0.187 ETH, yeah, that one was probably a good choice just because it has carrot in the back, and that's a pretty good card to have.
Good, so we're going to buy this one. Let's hope that we can get it.
Yeah, so you bought it, and then it sometimes takes a while for the Ronin to do the transaction.
So hereby we have our first Axie. Hey, hopefully it will show up soon. It's time for the next one. So these next two, they will be an addition to the team, but they can also be interesting for breeding, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So we want to go with 2 aquas here. We want to breed the same type, so the same would pop up as an offspring.
Okay, so right now aqua is just popular. Let's get rid of these parts. I think we can reset the stats as well.
Yeah, and then because we're breeding, we want a breed count of 0, and we also want a pureness of 6. So then we can make sure that whatever comes out is a pure aqua as well. Yeah, it is going to be a little bit of a premium over what we just bought.
Are there any parts that we're going to filter on, or stats, or this is the most important?
So yeah, for parts, these are the popular parts for the aquas right now. So the first one would be risky fish. The next one is koi. Sorry, KOI. Oh, there you go. and the last one is goldfish. Yeah, so when you're breeding, you want to
Mm-hmm.
look for where it has the purity percent at the end of the stat there. We want that to be 95 or better. And that's just because you see where it says R1 and R2, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of different colors and not blue, right? So we want something that's all blue because that indicates a pure fish.
Okay,
Um,
so
R2 and R.
for example, if you would
Oh,
be
sorry, go
breeding
ahead.
the plants, then you want as much green as possible. If you're breeding aqua, you want them as much blue as possible, and so forth.
Correct. And what R1 and R2 means is recessive. So if there's a lot of those, there's a
Mm-hmm.
higher chance that they'll pop up in D, which is dominant, and which will actually show up in the axis you see in front of you.
So in this case, we have a very pure one because everything in column D is blue, but we have a risk of, in the R1, there are three stats or three parts that could be ending up in the offspring, to call it that way, which increases the chance of having not so pure axes coming out of the egg.
Yeah, and then if they're less pure, then they're worth less. So then you kind of lose a little bit on your investment there.
Yes, and we don't want that. So we're going to hunt everything above 95 or including 95. Sadly, the purity percentage is something that is being shown by the plugin, so we can't use the filters, have to do it manually. Right now we have the 3 axes in our inventory. So with this setup, you're good to go when you want to play the game, and you're good to go to start the breeding process. So the breeding process is now focused on our aquas, and then the green one, the plant with a lot of health, we need that one to apply the strategy that you've outlined in your video. Now, before we can really get started, we need to level these babies up. And if you want to get to that situation that you're showing in your instruction video, then we'll probably have to be playing for 2 weeks, 1 hour every day. So I assume this is not an option for some of the people out there. One of the solutions that you could do is lend out your Axies. If I'm lending out my Axies, is it correct that they will level up and that somebody else will be leveling them up, and then you simply split the SLP profits between each other, so that at some point in time that person can buy Axie, him or herself? But it is correct that they would be leveling up our Axies, correct?
That is correct. Yeah. So actually they call it a scholarship, but it's basically a rental process. So because not a lot of people, especially those in developing countries like the Philippines or I think South America, where this scholarship type program is very popular, they don't have the 1 ETH to as a startup capital to start playing the game. So people that do and don't have the time to play, they'll rent them out to them, and your Axies are secure because they're on your wallet, your private keys, and you're just kind of giving them the login information to the account, so they can't ever sell your Axies
So
out without.
the whole scholarship thing is, it's not really an integrated smart contract thing offered by Axie Infinity. It's basically people coming together and saying, hey, here is an account that you can use, and I will be giving you that much SLP, and then that person just has to hope that I'm an honest person. Is that correct? Or is there really a
Yeah,
built-in
right.
system for scholarships?
Not at the current moment. I think the Axie Infinity team have said that they're working on it. Their engineers are working on that type of system where it would happen in game and through smart contracts. But as of right now, like all the risk is really on the scholar, the person playing the game, because the manager, the person renting it out, they're not putting their assets at risk per se. And they have to trust that this person renting it out would pay them when it's time to claim the SLP from the game.
Yeah.
Just to backtrack a little bit, there is a little bit of a risk when you're renting it out, because if the person you're renting out to, the scholar, is multi-accounting, then account gets banned. And I think what I've seen before is like maybe a year ban, which is like a lifetime in cryptocurrency.
Yes.
Yeah, so then you could lose your 1 ETH, which is like $2,700 as of today. Lose that for like a year because you can't sell it, you can't earn with Infinity, so don't get your Axies banned.
Okay, and that's a golden tip. Thank you for this. Good. We now have 2 Axies that we can use for breeding. The green one, we'll leave that one for playing. Maybe also interesting question. The breed count, it has 0 effect on your in-game performance.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's really for the breeding game only. So in this case, what do we do next? How do we breed these 2?
Okay, so you just pick one of the aquas, doesn't matter which one, and then it'll bring you to the individual Axie page, and then from there you click on breed. It'll and then for the Axie, you click on where it says select an Axie, and then you choose your other aqua.
Okay.
And then go ahead, sorry.
So the first time we breed, this is the price that we'll pay. 300 SLP at the current price, that is $60, and the breeding fee is 4 Axie tokens, and right now it's about $40. So that is 160 plus 60, it's $220. Breed a Axie, and then hopefully we'll get more for that Axie if we sell it. So I guess the only thing left to do is let's breed. Right. As you can see, we will be getting an egg. So if we want to breed again, we just click breed, and we see that the required amount of love potions has doubled. So right now it's no longer $60, but it's about $120, but the breeding fee stays the same. Now, of course, the big question is how many times can we breed? I assume this keeps pumping up. So the cost will go up significantly, and I can imagine that we don't want to breed the maximum amount. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So SLP increases slowly at first, but I think when you get to 3 or 4 breed counts, it's almost exponential in the amount of SLP it costs. So there is a break-even point where you want to stop breeding based on what the offsprings would sell for.
Okay, and of course, thankfully, you did your homework and you actually put up in a Google sheet publicly available. So let's take a look at that one. So this is the sheet. I'll put a link in the description. If people want to know how many times they should breed, we go to the breeding profit calculator, if I'm correct. And then what do they do next?
Okay, so they would find out how much the offsprings would sell for, and they would put in that yellow box. So we did the research for the aquas that could potentially come out from the breeding, and right now they're selling for about $1/4 of an ETH each.
Okay, then over here let's say we breed 1 time, then the total profit would be this, and it keeps adding up. So in this case, we have a maximum breed count of 5, and then the profitability goes down. Is that correct? That's the way you have to look at the schedule.
Yep, that's correct.
Now, it's also important to know, and then you added this to the sheet as well. We bought the parents for 0.65 Ethereum. If we would sell everything right away, then we would probably get this amount, so 0.4 ETH. Then we would be at a loss on the parents, about 0.25 ETH, but we would make a total profit if everything goes well, not unlucky, of 0.5, so that would be a net profit of 0.28. But this would also mean that we would be completely out of Axies because we would have sold them all. So let's just assume we don't want to quit the game, we don't sell everything. Even if the parents were used 5 times already for breeding, we can of course still use them to play the game or rent them out for a scholarship.
Yeah. And so you won't be at a complete loss for buying these parents. As you said, you can utilize them in different ways and kind of make back your initial investment that way.
Mm-hmm. And what do you usually do? Do you sell them or do you use them for the game?
I manage a scholarship program with my guild. So we breed and we give away, I would say maybe 60% of the Axies we breed to the scholars for them to use.
Mm-hmm.
And then we collect the SLP from that, and then the rest of it, the 40 to 30%, we sell, and we need to sell it so we can get the ETH from the sell, convert it back to the Axie token and SLPs to continue the next cycle. So kind of keep an eye on, we don't give too many away, so that we
Yeah.
Sorry, so we want to make sure that we sell enough to have cash flow to keep breeding going, but we also want to give enough away to the scholars to keep our guild growing or our scholarship program going. So then every 14 days, that's how long it takes until you can claim SLP, that we have enough
yeah, to
get profit, because you can get profit from SLP too.
There you go. So what happens next?
So if you go back to your inventory, you can see the eggs will be, try hit refresh on the browser. Sometimes you need to do that.
There you go.
Okay.
We already have 2 eggs.
So you can see, yeah, so you can see the eggs being delivered to you. So the next thing you need to do is if you click on one of those eggs, and you hover over where it says adult on the timeline under about. So that'll tell you when your eggs are ready to hatch. So you would have to wait usually 5 days for that. And then you would click on the morph to adult on the top next to gift, and then
yeah,
then it'll do the reveal. You'll get your Axie, and you can check the purity percent and the genes, and hopefully you get all 6 aquas, and hopefully they're like 95% plus, because as you see when you bought them, right, we put the floor price at 0.25, and that's because that Axie would be around like 80 to 90%. But if you get a 95 or more and you get lucky, you can potentially sell it for what you bought it for, right? 0.32, 0.33 ETH, and then you can make more profit than what the calculator shows.
And what's the strategy there? I assume you keep the expensive ones?
Yeah, if you want to keep breeding, then you would want to keep the 95%. In your case, because you started with 2, you would need to buy another Axie, because the Axies can't breed with their siblings. So you would need to buy an outside Axie to kind of continue this breeding farm. So once you get to, once you have 3 different Axies, there's a guide out there. I'll send you the link to provide to all your viewers that you can continue this farm without ever buying a new Axie. So all you're ever doing is relying on the offsprings you have, and you would have to pay the breeding cost to keep this going. But then you would sell your offsprings to kind of recoup that breeding cost, and I believe it's profitable in the long term.
I think we've covered more than enough for this video. So I definitely want to thank you for your time. I'm going to wait 5 days and then make another video, see what the results were, what the prices are that we can get for our Axies. So be sure to keep an eye on the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button and definitely check out the channel next week. I also suggest going to the channel of Leon, so it's Card Minnows. I'll put a link in the description, and also you'll have a link popping up in the top right corner right now, so you can visit the YouTube channel of Leon as well. He has a lot more in-depth videos and strategies on how you can play the game and on how you can be profitable in Axie Infinities. So Leon, thanks again for making the time, joining in this video and sharing all your knowledge. Definitely helpful. So a big thank you for doing this. If there is anything you want to add?
No, I just want to thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun going through the Axie Infinity and kind of guiding you through the process. Hope it was helpful for you and your viewers. And I know that there's a lot to go through. We didn't cover everything here, but because Axie Infinity is definitely an intricate game from both the breeding standpoint and the playing standpoint. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to help. You can either give me a DM through Twitter or Discord, or just drop me an email, and then I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Awesome. So the contact information was on your Google Sheet as well, right? So they can find everything there if they want to get in touch with you, or just drop you a comment. Thank you all for watching. If you got any questions, do not hesitate to post a comment as usual. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that notification bell, and don't forget to subscribe, because that will help me grow this channel and push this video in the YouTube algorithm. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.